Welcome to Here to Initiate, a podcast for manifestors, leaning on the concept of human design. We manifestors are 9% of the population, here to initiate, and it is time for us to rise. In this podcast, I, your host, Julia, want to bring a missing link to the marketplace. Having been a mentor and coach since 2018 and learning more and more about being a manifestor myself, I now, with this podcast, want to specifically support manifestors. With my brand Luxury Goddess, which is all about female remembrance, embodiment, and empowerment, I have served thousands of women already, and I now want to specifically support manifestors as well. I invite you to fully step into your peaceful, powerful self as a manifestor. Let's become who we came here to be, shall we? Welcome to a new episode. Hello, welcome, beautiful manifestors. Today, I'm giving you this episode because I received the feedback on one of my episodes, which was the feminine in our design, rest and urge phases. And the feedback was that, I'm just going to read it. Just found you. Please continue with this one and speak more about the hiccups in business when rest phases and urge phases are both many month long, starting a big thing and burning out in the middle of it. Lots of love to you too. All right, so let's address that today. So what about how can we honor our rest phases and our urge phases in our business? How can we go about that? What can we do when suddenly there's a rest phase for sure wanting to be claimed and, there's really no other choice. So what do we do? All right. So the first thing that I'd like to speak on is that whenever we know, which we do when we're listening to this podcast, right? We're talking about these things. We know, we're aware that in the concept of human design that we are manifestors, and we do know that we are non-energy types and that we just function very differently than other people, especially mani-gens and generators, right? So we do know that we do not have that sacral, and we can also look at what is our motor, right? Where does our energy come from? And so for me, that would be the emotional center. So that would be my emotions, right? But then other than that, it's definitely just like it is for you. And maybe it's even the same. Maybe it's your emotional center, but maybe it's not. So depending on which one it is, in the end, still, we don't have that sacral, and we do have these sudden urges, and we can go like the whole night or the whole week or like longer or less, right? Depends. And then we also have these rest phases that hit, and we can just lay in bed or, watch something, and it's just not easy for us to get out. So first of all, it's important to see, are we really burned out? Like, are you burned out, or is that a rest phase, right? We don't want to mistake one for the other, because if we're really burned out and we're just really like we overstepped all our boundaries to rest, and we can't, like there's no more power, there's nothing to take from. To me, it's a little different than the rest phase, because the rest phase, I'm not like burned out. I'm just basically tired, or I just want to relax, but I don't have, it's not like the life is kind of like sucked out of me, but when I feel burned out, which I did kind of in the beginning of my business, which was like 2019. Well, no, it was actually it was more like in the beginning, 2018, 2019. And so I definitely felt that sometimes I just could not feel anything. I just felt numb, and I also could feel symptoms in my body when I worked. So that to me was a little bit like burnout signs. But then the rest phase, it's really just like, I don't feel urges. I feel like I want to chill. I want to relax. I want to take it slow. I want to read a book. It's not like I don't want to do anything. And even if it was like that for you, I would say the rest phase is rather this sense of femininity, like the light feminine, I'm relaxing, I'm chilling out, I'm receiving. So there's no symptoms when I do work for me. It's not like I have physical symptoms when I work. When I have burnout symptoms, though, I can feel it in my body for sure. But when I don't have urges and I'm in my rest phase, but I do sit down to work, it's just that I don't have these urges. It's just that it takes a little longer. And, I'm not in an urge, but I feel calm, I feel chill, I feel relaxed. Yeah. So I would look at that first of all, right? Where is it really burnout? Where do you overstep your boundaries? Where are you something that you're just not wanting to do? Where does your body let you know that this isn't good and healthy for you, right? Because, whenever we do have symptoms, which we call like mental issues or mental health, right? Mental health issues or even health issues, then our body lets us know, right? We can really feel it in physical symptoms. But to me, a rest phase, other than, being tired or just needing a lot of sleep or stuff like that, I don't have physical symptoms. Whereas with burnout, like I said, I have physical symptoms for sure. Like I can feel like I'm stressed out. I can feel my whole body and like I'm tingling and my heart's beating faster and I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. And so definitely for sure that's different to me. So that would be that distinction that we would have to look at, right? So that's that. And we never override that. We never overstep that. Like we look at that, we honor that. That's it. Now, then it leaves us with, okay, we have rest phases as a manifestor and we have urges. And to me personally, again, I know this from me. I know this. And so it's like cycles. It's like the spring and the summer and the autumn or fall and then the winter. I know that in the winter, I'm not going to be super productive, right? I'm going to chill out. I'm going to receive. I'm going to retreat. And then, come spring, I'm going to start again. And then come summer, I'm going to be all active and out in the sun. And then comes fall, I'm going to retreat just a little more already. And so it's kind of like that for me. When I do know I have urges and you feel it, right? You have your urges. It's not, you have your urges and you act on them. Then to me, that is my summer. And then I know, right? I know that what I'm going to launch right now, for example, is going to be carrying me through my next rest phase. So gonna, put aside that money. I'm not going to spend all that money that I make in that phase with the urges that I have if it happens that I make that money in that moment. It could also be that you have an urge, you have an idea for a product, you execute on all the marketing, like you prepare all the marketing, and then in a rest phase your team or your virtual assistant plays out all that marketing. That could be an option as well, right? And then you take all that energy in the urge phase, you use it. And then in a rest phase, all of that kind of gets out into the world and you do make that money in that moment where you're chilling, where you're relaxing, right? So there's different options, It's just like we look at the cycles in nature and we understand how they work actually hand in hand. And yeah, like even personally to me, if I was a generator, a manifesting generator, maybe I would be active in my business all the time and launch all the time, maybe. But maybe I also wouldn't. Maybe I would launch and then, take like a break or a vacation. Maybe then I'd launch again and I'd take a break or vacation. So we do have cycles anyway. And especially as feminine beings, we want those cycles. We are cyclical. Even a manifesting generator or a generator has their period, right? If they're a woman, they have their menstruation. They have that feeling of wanting to retreat during their menstruation or the days before, depending on how they experience it. And so all beings need a break, right? And then, of course, especially women who menstruate, and especially all non-energy types, even, projectors and reflectors. But and so, I'd rather look at, how can I design my business cyclical? How can I make sure I have phases where I'm like creating all the things, and then where I execute, and then where I retreat, take breaks, also to really take in what's happening and to reflect on what's happening, and to reflect on how do I want to continue? Is this all aligned? Do I want to change something? Also to really appreciate what's been happening, to appreciate my own drive in my business, and to, just really take it all in and not just be constantly going. I think even as a manifesting generator, the idea isn't that you're constantly on, right? I mean, you're still needing breaks. You're still menstruating. You're still having processes and like things coming up that you need to process, and like all the feelings. I mean, we're all human. And so I think it's rather about understanding we're made to be cyclical, especially as women. And, if you are an emotional authority like me, you have an extra wave, you have an extra cycle. I mean, we're women, we have our cycles. We're a manifestor, we have our cycles. And then if you're an emotional manifestor like me, you have an additional cycle. So it's super feminine, like I shared in that episode that you referred to, that, that this question or the topic of today kind of stemmed from, which, again, thank you. That's such a great thing to talk about and to explore. But in the end, really, it's about finding your own wave and your own way to, again, be able to be cyclical. And so, I think that's that. And it would be any kind of way. May it be what I said, like, you have your urges, you do your launches, you make that money, and then you go into your rest phase, you chill out, you be grateful, you reflect, you have that money in the bank for that time, and then you continue making money with the next urges. Or like I said, you have those urges and then you prepare everything, and then it gets to work when you're resting. For me, for example, when I have an urge, for example, for, my platform, my social media platform that I have on Instagram, my profile, when I have urges, I write out all these pieces of like all the posts. I have so many pieces coming through me, so I have like 5 or 10 posts that I write like each week. And so whenever I do not feel like writing something, I take one of those posts that I wrote in an urge phase. Or it's kind of like the concept of bulking, which is the concept of doing one thing at a time and concentrate on it and produce and create a lot of that in that moment, so that it takes you like that you can take many pieces of content for many weeks. For example, when I shoot videos, I used to shoot videos for YouTube on my German channel. And I used to go like a day or two just to shoot videos. And then in the end, I had 5 to 15 videos. And so if I put out a weekly video, that would take me from 1 to 3 months, being able to publish these videos. But I shot them in 1 or 2 days, and not a day each week just to shoot one video. Which, especially as a manifestor and even as a projector, is a beautiful opportunity, because when you're in the zone, when you're in that urge to like, for example, shoot videos, and you're like in the fun of it, and you're like in the zone, and you're happy about it, and it's fun, you might as well do more of them, right? So that's kind of how I do it too. Like, I prepare things that need more energy, like shooting videos or writing posts that are really heartfelt, that really come from my heart. Those, like the videos and the posts, those I really create in moments of urges, where I can then later take those. And on the other hand, for example, we have this podcast, and the podcast is so easy for me, with my defined throat, as we all have as a manifestor. It's just so easy for me to talk. There could be a million things that I would talk to you about, it could just be the things that I realized just this week about my being a manifestor or something that helps me, or, looking at the comments, seeing, oh, there's a beautiful desire or request or something to talk about, which we're doing today. And so I feel like, let's go. We can talk about that because with my defined throat, I'm right here for it. Right. But then if it would take me more energy and I'd feel like, I don't know, like I don't feel the energy to do the podcast right now. Like it feels draining. I just want to rest. Then I wouldn't do it weekly or bi-weekly. Like I wouldn't do it in the moment just a few days before like I right now do, because I just love that it's very, that I just made it for you. Like we're really in contact here. It's not been produced over weeks. But then if I wouldn't feel this way, if it wouldn't be that fun for me and that easy, I would, create a few episodes in one urge, in one moment where I feel like, I want to talk. I want to be on this mic and be able to talk about all the topics. I would go into all the topics. Okay, cool. Like, what are all the things that help me as a manifestor? Okay, cool. Let me make the titles and let me go into it, right? So depending on that, I would play with that. And then all the things that are like video or going live on Instagram or, creating something like video material for Instagram, then I do it in the moment where I feel it. Whereas, for example, another thing that I bulk definitely is photos, right? So I do a photo shoot once or twice or 3 times the year. And then in that shoot, I make sure I have a few outfits ready and a few locations that we can change up. And then I can have all the pictures that I can use for my socials, for my Instagram, for different brandings, for different programs. And I don't feel like I have to do a photo shoot each time, I launch something or whatever, right? So that's how I bulk, because I love it, right? Like it makes so much sense to get ready for a photo shoot and like really have this beautiful identity, like stepping into my identity moment in a photo shoot and like really feeling that and really having like a coaching session and loving being in the flow. Because oftentimes what I see, it's raining really hard here. So if you're hearing the background, it's just because the rain gets harder and harder and more intense. So just so you know, but we're going to end this episode in a moment. So let's stay. Let's just know it's no technical issues. It's just beautiful rain, nature's way of cleaning and clearing us. So that's nice. So what did I want to say? Let me see. Okay, I just paused the podcast, rewind it, and listen to myself again. Love that I can do that in the podcast to catch myself. So what I oftentimes see is that, especially for us manifestors, the more we get into a zone, the more we are even like able to give our urges space, we become super creative. And then the moment where we become creative, everything flows through. And it's like so easy, and we're not even realizing how much we're getting done. And especially when we're having fun in the creative process, it's so easy to just continue. Like on the photo shoot, you started half an hour. It's easy to just change the outfit and go to the next location and stay in that zone of creating art. And I feel the same when I shoot videos. I feel the same when I write posts. But it has to be a genuine, creative, feminine urge to create, to be able to create something, to bring something to this earth that you had fun creating. And that to me is art. And when that happens, I create all the things. And again, when, for example, with speaking, it's like, for me, if I record a podcast for like 40 minutes or an hour, I do need a break just from like talking that whole time through. And so it feels more fun and chill to do that each week or bi-weekly, right? Whereas with the videos, it is like, of course, it takes energy, but then I take breaks and then I continue because it takes more energy for me to do that weekly, right? Because I have to get ready, I have to set up my light and all the things. Where with a podcast, it's just the mic, it's just the the Mac, the computer, and that's it, right? So kind of looking at that, So I hope that helps you. And I do really believe that, especially looking at the question or the way you put it in the comments, is, asking like, I don't want to burn out. Like I'm kind of scared to burn out. So how can I go about my phases and my urge phase. And I honestly do believe that burnout doesn't at all have to happen for us manifestors. And it's not so much about your urge and rest phase. It's more about like, where do you kind of like override yourself? Where do you feel like you have to do something when you really don't want to? Where are you still stuck in that pattern of being a woman, where you feel like you have to perform and you have to just do so much and just give so much, even though you're tired or you're wanting to take a break, or because oftentimes that goes back to our deep wounding of feeling unworthy or feeling powerless. But we have to understand in those moments, it's not real that we're actually having to do more, that we actually should do more. It's not real. It's just the patterning and the deep imprinting of feeling like, if I don't do this right now, if I'm not going to continue to work, I'm just going to be powerless. I'm going to be unworthy. And so because, I really truly believe that's going to happen, or I really fear that it will happen, I'm just going to continue working right now because I don't want to feel that, or I don't want that to be true. Well, we have to realize those are patterns. This is our imprinting, our conditioning. It isn't what's the truth. It's just what we've started to believe oftentimes at a really young age, because we thought that that's the thing to be, like that's who we are, right? We identified with as that and with that. But now as adults, we know like these aren't the truth about us. This isn't our identity. It is, if it is any identity, it's a trauma identity, but it's not the truth about us. And so we have to really be able to feel that and not bypass that by working more, because it's not going to work. It's going to, lead to burnout, or it's going to lead to, it's not going to lead to us feeling worthy all of the sudden, right? If we want to feel worthy, we're going to have to go through the unworthiness and not making it real, because it's not, but feeling it in the body, because that's where it's stored. This is where it originated. And so we're going to have to let it move through the body and feel it through. Again, not as if it was true, not as a victim, not making it like a drama narrative, just being present with the sensations in the body and letting them move through. And the more we can do that and understand this isn't my identity, it's just, if it is any identity, my trauma identity, then we can let that happen and we can be there for ourselves. But we're not going to do things that actually harm us, like overworking when we're really needing a break, and then leading up to burnout. And the more we trust ourselves, and the more we reflect on that in those moments, and the more we are aware in those moments of what's really happening, right? And not misinterpreting, this is the truth. No, it's not. It's a feeling, it's a patterning, it's an imprinting. The more we change the narrative, and the less we're going to just fall into the patterns of overworking, and we're going to trust ourselves. We're going to trust ourselves because we're realizing what's really happening. We're really there for ourselves. And we're not going to be scared that we're going to burn out, because we're understanding that we have it in our hands, that we actually are the ones to stop and realize right now that this is conditioning and imprinting, and it's not going to be smart to just continue overriding the break that we need. So I hope all of these thoughts and contemplations help you to understand better how to navigate your business with your rest and your urge phases. And I gave you a few ideas, but to me, always it comes back to looking at the deeper things. That's why I could not do that. It's just really important to me to understand like what's beneath that, right? What is it where you fear that you will feel like that, you'll be like that, you can't have it. We have to look at that, because that's ultimately always going to be the root cause. And we have to look at the root cause, because if we're just looking at the symptoms and just having like new strategies, the root cause is still going to show up and be like, hey, I'm still here. And you're still going to feel that. And so we have to look at that as well. So I really, really hope this serves so much. And then if any of you have a certain wish for this podcast, let me know in the comments on YouTube so that we can talk about that. in 2 weeks. All right. Thank you so much. Sending you so much love. And yeah, if you love the podcast, then let me know in the comments on YouTube or, whatever you want to do. Share it with another manifestor, however you feel. So again, thank you. I'm sending you all the love, and I will talk to you next time. This was today's episode for you as a manifestor in the concept of human design. I hope this episode and whole podcast serves you. And if it does, I invite you to leave a 5-star review on iTunes or rank the podcast 5 stars on whatever platform you listened. And or subscribe, comment, or share, whatever feels right to you, so we can spread this for all manifestors to hear and rise as one. Thank you from one manifestor to another. I deeply appreciate you rising, and I look forward to catch you next time. Always remember, you are here to feel peaceful. You are here to initiate. Remember to always inform peacefully. You are so powerful. I see you. You've got this. From one manifestor to another, yours, Julia.